Last couple of videos I created have been advertiser restricted by YouTube, so I'm either very delusional or I'm onto something. Instead, I'm just going to do Ricky Gervais and say, shut up, I don't care. I'm nobody. Could be the famous last words though. And you know what? So be it, because I don't care. I have a day job until or unless this thing wipes us all out off the face of the earth. I highly doubt it, however, if you get my drift. Instead, it's 11 o'clock at night on the 2nd of March 2020, and I don't feel sleepy, so I'm just going to go ahead and create a video for everybody to see. So if that hasn't upset YouTube gods, well, let's just kick it off with Donald Trump. Hate him or love him, could you disagree what he's going to say next? In his true, beautiful vocabulary, he says that the United States is in a great shape and the United States is very, very ready for any outbreak of it. We know what it stands for. So do you disagree with what he's saying?
Global stock markets have hit pause on the COVID-19 panic button as US President Donald Trump blamed the media for scaremongering over the epidemic. He's declared the USA in great shape and very, very ready for any outbreak. Despite that, travel-related stocks continue to be punished, though Wall Street finished the session less than 0.5% down. Here, the ASX shed nearly 1%, erasing all of its gains for the year, while the Australian dollar remains stuck at an 11-year low. Flight Centre is the latest travel victim of the virus. Its first half profit is down 74%, and boss Graham Turner is slashing full-year guidance by $70 million on what he calls an evolving situation.
Evolving situation. Now, first half profit again drops, same as we had yesterday, 74%, because of it all of a sudden, very quickly. I think what they're doing is they're writing off all their bad decisions and all the bad debts and everything else that they can blame on it. However, as Donald Trump said, we are very, very ready. So I am very, very ready and hope you are. Needless to say, we are still catching up with the last week's turn of events in the markets, which was rather volatile. So this is the Thursday, 27th of February 2020. So this is just last week. We are on Monday, 2nd of March 2020, and it's just about to reach 11 o'clock at night. And I'm just going to continue recording for you, viewers. Okay, I'm going to try and cut out the mention of it, whether I say it, well, I won't be saying it, or anyone else. So remember what I said, that it's not it that caused it, but they're writing off everything and anything in this first half to flush it out.
Graham, you've posted a 74% drop in net profit in the half, down to $22 million.
Yeah, I mean, our underlying results are not quite as bad as that. We did write off some significant goodwill investments, but...
So they've written off some significant goodwill investments. That's a business talk of saying we've written off the losses during this half, and everyone's going to think it's because of it.
And looking ahead, Wall Street futures are pointing to a 1% fall tonight, and that'll put markets into official correction territory.
Okay, so that was the news on Thursday, just last week, 27th Feb. Yeah, that did eventually put the markets in officially a correction territory. Again, notice correction, not a bear market. And to cap off the week that it was last week, so we are up to the Feb 28th, 2020, obviously, because I think these videos may be referred to in the future, which is why I'm mentioning the year. Or once again, maybe I'm just delusional. In any case, I don't care, says Economy Times Ricky Gervais impersonation. In any case, this is how it started.
Pandemic panic grips the stock market. $200 billion wiped out in the second worst week on ASX record.
As I said, I'll cut out the name of it So it
ended the longest bull run in stock market history. Wall Street tumbled another 4%, setting the biggest points fall on record, with losses for the week nearly 13%, sliding deep into correction territory. Here, virus panic. Frantic selling wiped more than 3% from the index, driving the second worst week in ASX history. That's only eclipsed by the 15% slump in 2008 in the midst of the global financial crisis. And the canary in the coal mine, bond yields have crashed. A flight to safety has seen Australian 10-year bond yields plummet to an all-time low of 0.9%. This report from Andrew Robertson on how the day unfolded.
Another day, another stock market bloodbath, the sixth consecutive day of heavy losses. When the dust settled today, the All Ordinaries Index had shed another 3%. All up, since the slide began, it's lost 10%, or a staggering $232 billion. The US market is down 12%. That means markets are now in what's known as a correction, which is losses of 10% or more.
Now watch how they talk about the confidence, that once the confidence gone, there's not very much anyone can do about it, but watch it.
The pressure more than ever is now on central banks to step in to try to steady markets, but with interest rates already low, their impact could be limited.
A rate cut isn't going to make someone rebook their travel plans that they'd cancelled. A rate cut isn't going to make a quarantined worker go out and spend money in the economy.
That's exactly right. There's not very much they can do. They've pulled all the levers. You've heard that expression. The interest rates are close to zero. What else can you do? Give people money? Sure, that's called quantitative easing. That probably would turn into an inflation if you actually gave people money instead of just shoving it into bank accounts off the banks and shoring up their reserves. The only way you're going to see an inflation is if you give people either pay rises or tax cuts or put money in their bank accounts. In any case, put the money into people's hands. Putting money again in banks' reserves, private banks' reserves, will not see anything get better and definitely not get the confidence anywhere they would like to see it. Okay, so Rachel Papazzoni is going to ask this man a question. Now you can guess what his answer is going to be.
Stephen, we've seen the biggest weekly drop for both the Australian and US share market since the peak of the global financial crisis. Will this be worse than the GFC?
So Stephen Koukoulas says, what do you think he's going to say? Does he positive or negative spin things?
At this stage, probably not. The GFC was a banking crisis. It lasted a long time, and we saw a really deep and protracted global recession that took many years to get out of. It was
We only know that because of the hindsight, and we absolutely don't know if that's not going to happen again, only because we haven't got the hindsight on our side and the benefit of it right now. Give it a month, 3, 6 months, 12 months. We're going to know what actually happened after the 28th of February 2020, which was just last Friday. Once again, today's Monday, 2nd of March. Now, in the next breath, he mentioned it, as we don't know how long that's going to last. And of course, we don't until we do, meaning that certain time has passed and now we know what happened and how long it lasted, right?
But if they do find a cure, if they are containing it at some stage in the coming weeks and months, hopefully it'll be a blip and a nasty one, but it won't be an enduring thing like the GFC.
How confident, how much confidence does he, why does he always have to be, it should be right, mate?
Hopefully it'll be a blip and a nasty one, but it won't be an enduring thing like the GFC.
Roger, your thoughts? Is this a GFC moment?
No, I don't think so. Having said that, though, the panic can be much worse than the pandemic on markets, so that's important to remember. But unless we see economic activity start to change the appetite for debt refinancing, then I think we're going to be okay. It is temporary. This too will pass. And I think markets will bounce pretty strongly when it does. Having said that, though, it could be quite deep and in the interim.
Yeah, somewhat positive outlook on the future by Roger Montgomery as well. Now, the next question is a bit of a loaded question, to be fair, but you can guess what the answer was.
Stephen, should investors be panicking?
Look, I don't think so because.
Stephen, should investors be panicking?
Look, I don't think so because, again, there's a hope that when we do get a.
Okay, so I don't think so because there's a hope that if we do get probably a cure for it, I'm not going to play any further. I think we've made our point here, people. Now, Roger always makes a convincing argument. He's full of facts, and I like to listen to him. He may or may not be always correct. He may be talking his book, but nevertheless, like I said, he's just a very intelligent man I like listening to.
In the interim, we've got the IOC talking about cancelling the Olympics. We've got the Japanese government closing down schools. We have Jamie Dimon coming out from JP Morgan.
I mean, he uses a lot more of facts as opposed to hopefully maybe if they find, for it, a cure. And then the policymakers will jump in. It's a part of the interview that I cut out from Koukoulas, but it's like, yeah, but what are you basing this on hope? But Roger is actually putting some kind of things that are happening and just makes it more convincing.
Banning all international travel. So at the moment, there's a panic response. Now, whether that's valid or appropriate or not, it's not for me to guess, but that panic response can be more important for markets and market prices and confidence than the result of the pandemic and how long it actually lasts.
See, because he is a money manager, so he lives in the real world. He knows how the real world works. Where some other people are just complete academics and just kind of hoping that things happen, and they get paid for just hoping for it and getting interviewed. I also like the next thing that Roger Montgomery says.
So I think there's a very real risk that we see further weakness before we see any kind of recovery. And for that reason, we're explaining to our clients to be ready to invest more, to be ready to buy value when it presents, because there could be some very good value about. We're seeing share prices drop by up to 10, 15% in a day for some stocks at the moment.
Now, honestly, my 2 cents worth here is that if you think that a market dropping for a week and wiping off, 243 or so billion dollars just in Australia is something that should get you to get in until you see the signs of revival, do not discount the fact that this could just last a lot longer. From 10% this week all up, we could get another sideways nothing percent zero, say this week, which already has started negative, so it's not zero, but net maybe at the end of the week we got zero and you think, oh, it's over, it's turning around again. It could be a small bull trap. So it could take a lot longer for this to play out and for the weekends to flash out and for the markets to regain confidence and again people to want to get out there and spend the money. Until there's no consumption, people, i.e., people not spending money, it's just not going to happen for the companies if people are not traveling. I mean, who in their right mind is planning to travel anyway, let alone anyway to Asia or even via Asia? You come back to Australia and they want to quarantine you for 14 days. You got to be mad. You got to put your life on hold. I mean, I can work from home type thing, but you keep me here for 14 days. I think I'd go berserk. I didn't know that they got it as independent economist. What does that mean, independent economist? I think he's available for hire, meaning it has to be consulting as an independent economist for governments and non-government organizations, I think. And yeah, just almost finally, I'm gonna paste the link in the description box of this interview. I know that the iView gets wiped after a week, so you won't be able to actually get the link that I'm using for this, but there is a link that will remain in the archives. So to do it justice, I'm going to post the interview so you can watch the whole interview all the pearls of wisdom from Roger Montgomery and other waffle.